Picture this. It's a Tuesday night, the house is finally quiet, you're lying in bed, and you're mindlessly swiping through your social media feed. Suddenly, a photo stops you in your tracks. Your old college roommate, the guy who used to sleep through morning classes, just posted a picture of his family in front of their brand new gorgeous vacation home. You scroll a little further. A former colleague is humble bragging on LinkedIn about maxing out their investment portfolio. Your younger cousin just bought a Tesla. And as you stare at the glow of your screen in the dark room, this cold, heavy feeling drops right into the pit of your stomach. You look at your own bank account balance. You think about your own job title, your own daily grind. And that little voice in the back of your head whispers a terrifying question that you've been trying to ignore for months. Am I falling completely behind? Welcome back to another episode of Grow with Tony. I am so incredibly glad you are here with me today because we are tackling the elephant in the room. A massive, incredibly stressful elephant that tends to sneak up on us right around the time we blow out 40 candles on our birthday cake. Today, we are talking about what you should have accomplished by age 40 and exactly how to catch up if you feel like you are losing the race. Just a quick disclaimer before we dive in. This podcast is for educational purposes and sharing strategies, so please remember, this is not official, personalized financial advice. All right, let's get into it. Turning 40 has a funny way of making us confront our reality. It feels like a hard deadline, doesn't it? Society has brainwashed us into believing that by the time you hit the big 4, 0, you should have the master plan completely figured out. You're supposed to have the sprawling 4-bedroom house, the impressive executive title on your business card, and an investment portfolio so thick it practically generates its own gravity. But I am here to tell you a secret that the social media algorithms absolutely do not want you to know. That picture of perfection, that highlight reel you see online, it is mostly an illusion. It's a facade built on cheap debt and high anxiety. If you want to know the truth, the actual economic data tells a completely different sobering story. Studies from the Federal Reserve consistently show that more than half of working adults in America would panic over a sudden $400 emergency. They simply do not have the cash on hand. If the alternator in their car blows out, they are putting it on a credit card at 20-something% interest. Furthermore, the median retirement savings for people in their mid-40s and early 50s is somewhere around $100,000. Now, $100,000 sounds like a lot of money until you realize that in retirement, that might barely cover 3 or 4 years of modest living. And that is the median, meaning half the population has even less than that. The reality is, most people are not crushing it. Most people are silently treading water, trying not to drown under the weight of mortgages, groceries, and student loans, all while feeling entirely alone in their struggle. If that sounds like your life right now, I need you to do something for me. Take a deep breath. Drop the shame. You are not uniquely terrible at managing money. The system we live in is inherently difficult to navigate, and wealth building is not taught in high school. But just because it is incredibly hard does not mean it is impossible. So, let us strip away the Instagram fantasies and look at the actual math. What should a financially healthy 40-year-old actually look like? Financial planners generally agree on 5 realistic benchmarks. Let's walk through them. Benchmark number 1 is the bedrock of everything, the emergency shield. By 40, you should ideally have 3 to 6 months of your core living expenses sitting in a boring, highly accessible, high-yield savings account. I am not talking about money locked up in the stock market or tied to your home equity. I mean liquid cash that you can transfer to your checking account in 24 hours. Life is beautifully unpredictable, but it is also brutal. Roofs spring leaks. Companies downsize out of nowhere. Sudden health issues pop up. This cash reserve is not meant to make you wealthy. It is an insurance policy against disaster. It keeps you from sliding into toxic debt when the storm inevitably hits. Benchmark number 2 is a wealth checkpoint. A solid rule of thumb is having about 2 to 3 times your annual salary saved and invested across your retirement accounts and portfolios by age 40. Let's do the math. If you make $80,000 a year, seeing somewhere between $160,000 to $240,000 invested is a fantastic sign. Why this specific number? Because it means compound interest has enough raw fuel to start doing the heavy lifting for you. You want your money to start making its own money so you don't have to trade your time for every single dollar until the day you die. Benchmark number 3. You need more than one pipeline of money. Think about this. Depending solely on one boss at one company for 100% of your family's survival is arguably one of the riskiest things you can do in the modern economy. By 40, you should have some proof that you can generate income outside of your primary W-2 job. It does not have to be a massive time-consuming second business. We're talking about diversification. It could be freelance consulting, a modest rental income, dividend-paying stocks, or a digital product you created. If your main income stream gets shut off tomorrow, you want at least a trickle of water coming from somewhere else. Benchmark number 4 means you have emptied the backpack of rocks. And by that, I mean you have eliminated high-interest consumer debt. Carrying $20,000 in credit card balances at a 22% interest rate into your 40s is financial self-sabotage. It is like trying to swim across a rushing river while wearing a lead vest. Mortgages are generally fine. Student loans at low rates are manageable. But toxic, revolving credit card debt needs to be eradicated with extreme prejudice. No investment in the world will consistently pay you 22% a year, so paying off that card is the best guaranteed return on investment you will ever get. And finally, benchmark number 5. You run on autopilot. You have established systems. Wealthy people don't rely on willpower to save money every month because human willpower is deeply flawed. Instead, they use automation. By 40, the money should automatically move from your paycheck directly into your investments, your 401k, and your savings accounts. Before you even see it, you pay your future self first, automatically. Now, listen to me closely. If I just listed those 5 benchmarks and your stomach tied itself into a knot because you realize you have exactly 0 of them checked off, please do not click away. Stay with me right here, because understanding why you fell behind is the very first vital step to fixing the problem. Life does not happen on a straight, predictable spreadsheet. Things get messy. Maybe you graduated from college right into the teeth of a massive global recession and spent your 20s just scraping by on minimum wage. Maybe you spent your 30s putting your career on hold to care for a sick parent. Maybe you went through a devastating, expensive divorce that completely wiped out your assets, or you got hit with a medical emergency that the insurance companies fought you on. When you go through prolonged periods of financial stress, your brain actually changes. This is fascinating. Behavioral psychology shows us that living in what experts call scarcity mode literally strips away your cognitive bandwidth. When you are terrified about how you are going to pay the rent on Friday, your brain physically cannot process a 30-year retirement plan. It shifts into pure, primal survival mode. You aren't stupid. You aren't lazy. You are simply trying to survive a brutal economic landscape where the cost of housing, healthcare, and education have skyrocketed, while average wages have barely crawled forward. Give yourself some grace for the years you were just trying to survive. But here is the massive ray of hope. Here is the pivot. If you are 40 years old today, you still have 25 years before traditional retirement age. I want you to really let that sink in. 25 years. Think back to how much your life, your mindset, and your reality changed from age 15 to age 40. That is an eternity. That is the exact same amount of time you have left to build your wealth. The runway is still long enough for you to completely change your financial destiny and rewrite your family tree. However, the reality is this: you can no longer afford to casually jog. You have to sprint. If you are starting from 0 at 40, following the standard advice of saving 10% of your income is no longer going to cut it. You are going to have to push that boundary. You need to look at saving 20, maybe even 30% of your income. I know that sounds incredibly painful. I know it sounds like deprivation. But you have to completely shift your mindset around what saving actually is. You are not depriving yourself of joy today. You are purchasing your absolute freedom for tomorrow. Every single dollar you aggressively save and invest right now is a soldier you are sending into the future to protect the older, more vulnerable version of you. To execute a sprint like this, skipping the occasional $4 coffee is not going to move the needle. You have to attack the big monsters. You need to look at the massive fixed costs that are quietly dragging you underwater every single month. First, look at your housing. If your rent or your mortgage is eating up 40 or 50% of your take-home pay, the math will simply never work in your favor. It might be time to have a very uncomfortable, brutally honest conversation. Do you need to downsize? Can you leverage geographic arbitrage? Meaning, can you move to a city or state where your dollar stretches 30% further? Next, look at what you drive. The average car payment in America right now is over $700 a month. That is absolutely insane. Financing a brand new, rapidly depreciating luxury SUV for $800 a month is a wealth killer. A reliable, well-maintained 10-year-old Toyota gets you to the exact same grocery store, but it leaves you with hundreds of dollars extra every single month to invest in your future. Stop driving your retirement account to work. And then, there is the most powerful lever of all, your income. You are entering your prime earning years. There is a hard floor to how much you can cut your expenses, but there is absolutely no ceiling to how much you can earn. If you have been a loyal employee to a company that gives you a tiny 2% raise every year, you are losing money to inflation. The biggest income jumps happen when you strategically change jobs, demand true market value, or negotiate fiercely. A 15% bump in your salary from jumping to a competitor can shave years off your retirement timeline. Now, let's get into the concrete step-by-step game plan. What do you actually need to do tomorrow morning to start catching up? Step 1. You must get absolutely radically clear on your numbers. Not vaguely, precisely. You need to calculate your exact net worth, which is everything you own minus everything you owe. You need to know exactly what comes into your bank account and exactly what leaves it every single month. Most people operate on a feeling that things are okay or tight. Vagueness is incredibly expensive. You cannot fix a problem you refuse to measure. Step 2. You need to exploit every single tax advantage and employer match available to you. If your company offers a 401k match, you must contribute at least enough to get every single penny of that match. Why? Because it is literally free money. It is an instant 100% return on your investment. Beyond that, start pushing your contributions higher. And if you are over 50, take advantage of the IRS catch-up contribution limits. Max out those tax-advantaged accounts as fast as humanly possible. Step 3. We need to talk about your investing strategy. When people feel like they are behind, they panic. They look for shortcuts. They start chasing hot stock tips, timing the market, or dumping money into highly speculative assets like risky crypto coins because they want to get rich quick and make up for lost time. Do not do this. This is how you lose whatever capital you have left. The strategy that has historically beaten almost every actively managed fund is boring, simple, and highly effective. Diversified investing in low-cost index funds. Put your money in a broad market index fund, leave it alone, and let the entire economy work for you. Step 4. You have to adjust your expectations. This is where honesty comes in. If you are 40 years old with zero savings, retiring to a private yacht at age 55 is probably not going to happen. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. Don't let the pursuit of perfect become the enemy of possible. Maybe traditional retirement at 65 or 67 is your target. Maybe your retirement looks like working a fulfilling, low-stress part-time job 3 days a week to cover groceries while your investments cover the rest. You might not have the mega mansion, but achieving true financial peace, the ability to sleep soundly knowing your basic needs are covered, that is absolutely achievable. That is the real goal. And finally, step 5. Guard against lifestyle creep. You get that big promotion, you feel amazing. Suddenly you feel like you deserve a nicer apartment and premium brands. 6 months later, you are making 30% more money, but miraculously, you are still living paycheck to paycheck. Where did the money go? It evaporated into a slightly more comfortable lifestyle. Do not fall into this trap. If you are playing catch-up, every time your income goes up, your saving and investing rate must go up with it. And please, do not treat saving milestones like finish lines. When you finally hit $10,000 in your emergency fund, do not reward yourself by taking a $5,000 vacation. The milestone is just a checkpoint. The true reward isn't a vacation. The reward is the deep, profound peace of mind. Before we wrap up this episode, let's quickly summarize what we have learned today so you can walk away with absolute clarity and start taking action. First, we learned that the social media standard of success at 40 is an illusion, and you are not alone if you feel behind. Second, we established the 5 real targets: an emergency fund, investments equal to 2 to 3 times your salary, diversified income, zero toxic debt, and automated financial systems. Third, we recognize that scarcity mindset is real, but you must drop the shame to move forward. Fourth, we outlined the ultimate catch-up strategy. You must attack big fixed costs like housing and cars, aggressively maximize your income, get mathematically precise about your net worth, exploit employer matches, stick to boring index funds instead of speculative gambling, and adjust your retirement expectations to focus on peace rather than luxury. And finally, we learned to ruthlessly guard against lifestyle creep. Listen to me right now. The shame you feel about your bank account is a liar. It wants to keep you paralyzed in fear. It wants you to think it is simply too late, so you won't even bother trying. The absolute best time to start building your financial empire was 20 years ago. We all know that. But the second best time? It is right now. Today. This very minute. Every single day you wait is a day of compound interest you will never ever get back. But every day you take action is a brick laid toward a massive fortress of financial security. The person who wakes up at 40, gets radically honest about their situation, stops making excuses and starts building with relentless consistency, will be in a drastically different universe by the time they are 60. You cannot change the decisions you made in your 20s or your 30s. That ink is dry, but the next 25 years, that is a blank canvas. Stop comparing your behind-the-scenes struggles to everyone else's curated highlight reel. Run your own race. Start today. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me on Grow with Tony. Before you go, I have a question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. What is one financial decision from your past that you would do differently if you could go back in time? Maybe it was a car you bought, a job you stayed at too long, or debt you took on that didn't make sense. Drop it in the comments. The more honest we are about our past mistakes, the better we get at avoiding future ones. If this episode gave you the wake-up call or the strategy you needed today, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep growing, keep building, and take absolute control of your future.